Today's guest leads one of the most celebrated luxury diamond brands in the world. Known as the world's most perfectly cut diamond, she is the president of Hearts on Fire. With decades in the jewelry industry, she has helped shape how innovation and storytelling comes together. She will be honored by the Jewelers Vigilant Committee with its highest award this month.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Forster, and this is Power Up Talks.
Rebecca, thank you for being in Power Up Talk.
Thank you for having me.
For those who may not know the brand, tell us about Hearts on Fire and what makes it so special.
So Hearts on Fire is actually going to be celebrating its 30-year anniversary this year. And it's a brand that was started in Boston, Massachusetts by a husband and wife who were diamond traders and went to Antwerp and found this amazing diamond that when you looked at it through a scope, you could see actually heart and arrow patterns.
Oh, wow.
And so hence the name Hearts on Fire. And Hearts on Fire is really the world's most perfectly cut diamond. And that's why you see these patterns. It's cut for beauty, not for maximum use of the rough diamond. And it's transcended time, and it still continues to be one of the world's most famous and most coveted diamonds.
How do you know the cut? So I'm getting technical, but when I started researching you and Hearts on Fire, in every single article, it was like the most perfectly cut. How do you get to that?
Well, it's a matter of the proportions and how many facets the diamond has. And we call it the most perfectly cut diamond because if you look at it, it almost looks like the diamond has a soul. Oh, wow. It's mesmerizing. It draws you in. It has the most white brilliance you'll ever see. And it has these flashes of color, these color bursts that bring it to life. And you know, color is an emotional thing. And I think when consumers see the brilliance and the scintillation and sparkle, but they also see that amazing color that comes out, that fire, it just captures them forever.
That's incredible. I keep reading, and it's about precision. It's about excellence. As you speak, it's about the cut. And coming back to you, you've long career in merchandising, marketing, operations, and you've just covered it all. When in your life have you been equally uncompromising?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, probably the most important thing that guides me, whether it's in personal or professional life, is my values. Having really good values as a human being, as a business person, and I never allow myself to get compromised where I don't feel that I'm living to my true values that guide me. So I think that's a key thing where I'm really, I don't compromise at all when it comes to that. And precision, you know, it's about excellence. I mean, I don't think you can show up anymore in this world and be successful unless you really give it your all and do the best that you can and you know, be excellent and just really give it everything that you can.
I love what you said about values. And in your younger years in your career, because as we evolve with more confidence and more leadership positions, it is easier to be and to hold a room. What did you do in your younger years that you can recommend in terms of just holding to those values and speaking up, or just making sure that you act as what you believe in?
Ooh,
that's a big one.
That's a big question. Well, I mean, you know, in business it's tough, right? Exactly. Because you sometimes, you know, you have collaborations or relationships that you have to compromise a little bit in order to nurture that and to make it work. But I would say, you know, removing myself from situations that just didn't feel comfortable, but again with you know, elegance and not being rude or anything, but never allowing myself to get too deep into a situation that was uncomfortable, and just being true to myself, always trying to be true to myself, and listening and being influenced by others, but not to a point where it was going to change who I was and what I stood for.
How important is your gut in terms of decision making when you talk about you being true to yourself?
Yeah, my gut is pretty good. I would
Okay.
say I'm a pretty intuitive person. I listen to my heart. I listen to how I'm reacting to something. Sometimes people say, you know, I think I'm maybe more intuitive than I really am. But I do feel that I have because I listen. I listen to people. I take note of the environment I'm in. And I think, you know, those kind of qualities at the end of the day also make you a confident, powerful woman.
Okay.
Because you're just really aware. You're in the moment and you're paying attention.
The awareness of understanding context and people is such an important insight to leading. And was there a defining moment when you realized, as you talk about being ready and being powerful and confident, when you realized that this is my time, this is the moment? Was there, can you tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I was very fortunate throughout my career to have amazing leaders and mentors who, to this day, I'm still friendly with all of them. I still consider them, you know, my mentors. And so that kind of was very helpful. And kind of taking a little bit of each of them, you know, maybe the best qualities of each of them, and trying to create my own leadership style. But I think, you know, I was in some very challenging positions. We were talking earlier about how I brought the Russian diamond mining company, the largest in the world, to North America, and created a brand for them, and working with, you know, that culture from abroad. I felt I'd really developed some great people skills, some great understanding, a global understanding of different cultures and their nuances. I had empathy and enough confidence and comfort level with myself that I felt I could really give back to people. And you know, leadership is about listening. It's about being fair, but being strong, because everybody wants to be part of something. Everybody needs to have somebody to guide them, whether it's in business or in your personal life. We all need that, whether it's our family members or, you know, our colleagues. And I just felt that I had a good balance of the business acumen, but also the empathy and the intuitive nature to be able to really help a team achieve great things.
Rebecca, awareness, intuitiveness, empathy, listening. Did you learn that through your career, or were you inherently those characteristics?
No, I definitely was not. It was not what I was born with. I mean, I was an only child, and I'm not sure that listening or you know, really taking in people around me was a big part of being an only child. But I think it helped me get to where I am now, because I realized the importance of these characteristics, you know. It's very easy to talk all the time.
Yes.
It's very easy to think that you always have the right answer, but the reality is it's not the case, and it's dangerous. And you don't learn and you don't grow unless you listen to others and you listen to their opinions, and sometimes you take their opinions. It makes you a better leader, it makes you a better person, and it broadens your horizons and your mind.
Off camera, you just said we were talking about your time working with the largest Russian diamond mining company.
It's the world's largest diamond company. They have the most mines.
Bringing it to North America. Can you tell us of an anecdote that just thinking about that feat is insane. Tell us an anecdote about those years in terms of challenges or what you had to accomplish or something that we can learn from.
Yeah, well, I mean, to actually get that job, it took about a year and a half of various people coming over from Russia to interview me to try to learn and understand because, you know, cultural nuances here are very significant. And so they had to find somebody that they really trusted, that they knew would understand their culture and be able to represent them properly in North America. So that was interesting in itself. Going to Russia was a lifetime experience. The beauty of Moscow and the history there is fantastic. And then getting it settled in North America and the logistics, the distance between us in New York and them in Moscow. But we did it, and honestly, the person that guided me was also one of the best mentors I ever had in my career, even with the cultural differences. It was fascinating. You know, it was a place where I realized I took a risk. It was a big risk, but it was fantastic. It really kind of made me grow and enable me to move further and further into my career.
Big risks with this particular leadership and job. How do you deal with fear? Did you just do it anyway? What kind of advice can you give us in terms of what you know and learned?
I mean, I think, you know, fear is a common emotion that we all have, whether it's getting ready for this podcast and, you know, not really knowing exactly what you're going to ask me to talk about.
Or when I go off, when I go off the questions.
But, you know, fear is a good emotion because it keeps you in the moment. It keeps you alive. It keeps you on top of, you know, yourself. You're constantly engaged. You're trying to figure it out, and eventually you conquer it. You know, as step by step, as you learn more and you feel more confident in what you're doing. I think one of the most powerful things, honestly, is communication and information. And so when you learn to properly communicate with whoever you're doing business with or whoever you're working for, it starts to break down that fear factor.
What do you mean when you say properly communicate in terms of expectations and understanding what?
I think it's transparency.
Okay.
I think transparency in today's world is so important, whether it's within a personal relationship or whether it's in a business, you know, environment. The world is very complicated. Every day it's changing. There's so many things that can create fear. But when you talk about it or you learn about it or you educate yourself about it, that fear starts to dissipate.
We are here in Reinhold, and this is part of the collaboration with Reinhold. And what we're going to talk about in the podcast is a lot about intention. So what does it mean to build a life of intention to you?
Intention. Well, intention, I think, means that whatever you do, you're making that choice for yourself to a certain extent. I think it's also living, not just talking about, but when you walk the talk, meaning when you have values, that you try to live out those values in different aspects of your life, whether it's through your career or your job, your leadership style, whether it's your strategic relationships with your retail partners like Reinhold. The intention should always be clear. The intention should always be true to what you believe in. And, you know, I think that just goes back also to, you know, being a good person and having a North Star where you want to get to. But always keeping in mind the values so that you don't do it in a way that's really not a great way to get there.
Can you share with us a particular moment where you've chose a line with intention versus a road less traveled or versus something else in your career?
My intention in my career was always to learn as much as I possibly could, which led me to sometimes actually going backwards in my career
Oh,
path.
really?
To gain different types of insight, experience. For example, I worked for a lot of American companies at the beginning, and then the world became global. So my intention was to get global experience so that I could work with different cultures and different countries. That was really helpful to me because now, having worked with the Chinese, the Russians, the Israelis, or whatever, it takes a different kind of skill set because you have to be understanding and you have to be able to compromise sometimes because, it's working with different perspectives. And so the world today, having that kind of understanding to understand those different perspectives is really important in any kind of success, I think.
And it opens up opportunities that...
It opens up new opportunities. So my intention was always to continue to learn and to grow. I think learning is so important. We never know everything. We never know enough. And that's also how I like to lead. I can always learn from my staff. I can always learn from my colleagues. I can always learn from my partners.
You said in an interview, talk about learning, we've learned that it's important to go back to basics. You don't always have to reinvent everything. This is major, especially when we are just always trying to innovate and disrupt and. Tell us about this and how can we learn from this belief?
Yeah, I think it's very common and maybe human nature where we are always attracted to newness and new things and new ideas. And certainly innovation is a very important part of business success. And that's part of what we've done with Hearts on Fire these past 4 years, really a brand renewal, a brand transformation to make it more relevant for today's consumer by bringing in new designs, new products that showcase really these signature collections, a lot more storytelling. But when you do that, you have to make sure that you really keep the basic things that make your business successful, like your policies, your agreements with your retailers, your pricing, and you get caught up in all of this new innovation and newness, and it really is very important, and it takes a lot of discipline to go back and look at these basic things and make sure that you're doing them the best that you possibly can, because they never stay constant. The environment you're working in changes. The obstacles you are faced with change. This year, we had tariffs on diamonds that forced us to go and look at how do we reprice so that we can sustain the business. How do we look at returns, at all these basic business principles that I think oftentimes we forget about and move on because we get caught up in the excitement. But everything needs to be working together to really have a truly successful business.
A lot of entrepreneurs listen to this podcast, and entrepreneurs start as a solopreneur, and then sometimes they start getting traction, growing, and then scaling. How important is process? I'm just thinking what you're just saying, the process in terms of scaling or growing a business. And this is for the entrepreneurs who sometimes are caught in doing everything and wanting to do everything.
Yeah. So that can be dangerous.
Yeah.
One lesson that I've learned in business is that bigger is not always better. You can have a very successful business that's relatively small but profitable, and you can grow too fast or extend into other categories that might not really be part of your, main focus, that create distraction, where all of a sudden you're not profitable anymore. So I think everything takes a lot of planning, strategic planning. You have to evaluate. You have to look at the different potential scenarios constantly to make sure that you're, keeping that basic foundation of what you need to be successful without over expanding, without growing too big. And in today's world, I think it's you see it a lot with companies. I mean, we are looking at a major thing right now with the bankruptcy of Saks Global, where Saks Fifth Avenue, a globally known retailer, bought Neiman Marcus, and obviously that didn't go too well. I think there was some due diligence or, perhaps process that was not really evaluated, and so now we're dealing with a major bankruptcy from one of the world's most renowned retail organizations.
And what's happening in the company when something like this happens?
We're at Saks Global.
Exacto.
Well, I mean, it's a mess. They owe a lot of their vendors a lot of money. They have to take a step backwards and figure out how they're going to get themselves out of this, which is very complex, and it's creating a lot of anxiety amongst the employees that have been there for a long time. It's creating a lot of anxiety from the vendors and the brands that they've serviced because they're needed in the marketplace. And so it's a huge disruption, and we'll see how it works itself through.
You said that Hearts on Fire in the past few years have gone through a brand transformation, storytelling. How do you build something like that in terms of when we start looking at our own brands and start, okay, this is the trend, should I be here, should I be here? What kind of advice have you learned in the past years that can help when we look at brands?
Yeah, so the most important thing is to always be aware of your competition and to constantly be evaluating what your competition is doing. Become friendly with your competition, talk to them, have lunch with them, collaborate, commiserate. It's a huge help when you do that. And, just being aware of what's happening in the environment. For us, it was very clear when lab grown came into the market and became a very big disruptor. We knew that we were playing in a part of the market where we were not necessarily going to fare well because the Hearts on Fire diamond, because it is the world's most perfectly cut diamond, comes with, it's a proprietary price. It's not a generic diamond, and lab grown is really a consumer preference based on price. So we realized quickly that it was time to elevate ourselves and bring us up higher into the luxury arena, in that top tier, and not compete on price, but compete on the whole brand ethos, the storytelling, the signature collections that you and I are wearing here today that are just so unique and so, uniquely Hearts on Fire. You don't see them anywhere else. Having a creative director that could bring those stories to life and now bring a consumer a different value proposition of these beautifully crafted designs, great quality, and also they happen to have the world's most perfectly cut diamond. So not eliminating the diamond, but giving it a different sort of part of the story. The jewelry is created to provide a wonderful home and showcase for the Hearts on Fire diamond. So it's almost, a much different value proposition, a much bigger way to present itself.
It appeals to the heart. It appeals to some other emotional ways and understanding of what are we buying and why, right? It's just telling some of the whys.
Yeah, and also, consumer preferences have changed over the years. People want to express themselves in a different way. They believe in personalization. They want to wear their jewelry in a different way. They want to choose their jewelry in a different way. And so you have to have a broad spectrum of different designs and ways that you can wear these designs, stack them, wear them together, wear them separately. So it enabled us to broaden the whole offering and appeal to a young to older consumer, a more high net worth consumer, but also offer entry price points for somebody who wants to come into the brand franchise early. So we listened to all of those things, and that was really the intuitive shift for me in my mind that said, okay, we need to do this. We're going to take the risk, we're going to push it, and we're going to make it happen. And it's been extremely successful.
I love
Your inside out cigarette ring.
I love it with the
Inside out, beautiful
inside
bracelet.
out. And when you wear such beautiful pieces, you feel good, right? It's just special, and it gives you confidence. And I wanted to sway into this because just sitting next to you, your confidence just emanates.
Well, you make me feel comfortable.
How has your definition of confidence changed or evolved during your career?
So I think when I was younger, I probably looked to other people to make me feel confident. You know, accolades, nice remarks, looking for their acceptance. But I think confidence has to come from within, and it takes time, and it takes years. And each experience that you have, even if it's not necessarily the best experience, but it's how you handle it, you develop confidence. And so when you present yourself as a woman in business, that confidence has to come from within you.
Is it a believe in yourself thing, or is it?
I think it's taking the time to kind of go back and realize what you've achieved. Sometimes we forget that. We're moving so fast, and we're looking to just achieve the next thing.
What's next? We don't pause
and
enough.
being kind to yourself and taking the time to just go back and look and remember and say, wow, I forgot that I did that. Wow, that's so relevant today. And of course, you still want to feel that the people around you trust you as well. But I think really it's something that grows with time. And it's a beautiful thing that grows with time.
It's a great insight. Rebecca, I always close Power Up with 3 questions. What do you know now that you did not know then? What would you tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger self? Again, I think it relates back to this whole thing. It really, it matters less what other people think about you than what you think about yourself. And when you have a good idea of who you want to be, and you live your values, that's really important. I was always so worried all the time about what do people think about me? Do they like what I'm wearing? As
those 360 feedbacks in corporate. Yeah. We're saying what?
So I think, if I knew at a younger age that all these things would kind of develop naturally and grow, that's maybe one thing. There's a lot of other things, but
what has been a bad advice? Like somebody who's given you what a bad advice have somebody given you? You're like, no, that's not that does not work.
I think as a woman, and being successful in business and having your own business as you do, I think initially I was told, or I believed that we had to be really tough and we had to show up all the time, to compete with men and to have a certain way about ourselves. And honestly, I think that was some of the worst advice I ever got. And I think when you're comfortable in your own skin and you have the skills and the intelligence that you need to perform, you can be a woman. You can dress appropriately, but you can be feminine. You can be a woman. You can, achieve the same kind of things, and be yourself. And, that thought of having to be this person that I never really felt comfortable being was not a great thing to believe at that time.
The other side of the coin, what great advice has somebody given you, or what great advice would you like to share with us?
Yeah, so one of my mentors, early on, told me something one day, very casually. I think we were on the train riding to some shoot, a photography shoot, in the advertising days. And he said to me, just win wars and lose battles. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, think about it. And what it means, and I live it every day, is that we can't get upset about everything in life, again, whether it's personal or business. We can't dwell on every little thing. We can't fix every little thing. And we can't dispute every little thing. And so when something is not really that important or is not going to change the scheme of things in a big way, you let it go. And you save that moment when you're going to win a battle, something that's going to really change either your life personally or make a really significant impact in your business decision.
Rebecca, that's life-changing advice. Because when we think about our days, we get lost sometimes.
In minutia, in irrelevant things that have no impact.
And it's draining.
Yes.
So it's been a treat to interview you.
Thank you.
Such a leader with just incredible global experience and with valuable and incredible insights. Thank you, Rebecca, for
Thank you
being
very
part
much,
of Talk.
Lucienne. Thank you so much. My pleasure.